Hi, we're here to talk about this SaberForge hilt that was built and assembled and powder coated by Chris Royal Custom Armory for David of the Saber Museum and installed by myself. So let's hop down to the table. We'll go over the some caveats, some general rules for operation, and then we'll show off the chassis, go over a few of the fonts and presets, and then we'll come back out and I'll show some blade styles and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks for checking it out. Welcome. We're here to talk about this SaberForge parts build that was done by Christopher Royal at Royal Custom Armory. I believe he had a bunch of parts that he powder coated and assembled. This is an install for David of the Saber Museum. So because this is a SaberForge parts build, I just want to go over a couple quick things to mention, and then I'll go over some of the rest of the install pieces. But again, because this is a returning customer, I'm not going to go over everything in this video, as David is a returning client, and this will be very similar to the other builds I've done for him. So right off the bat, because it's a parts build, we have a emitter section, a switch section, a body section, and then the pommel. How we get to everything is at the pommel. However, you can take the grip section off because the rotary PCB that connects here to the chassis is up here in this section, but that's not necessarily. I will say this unscrews here, but please do not do so. There's a cable running up into the emitter that connects both to the rotary PCB as well as the activation switch. With that being said, this activation switch is a 16mm KR switch that has an array of 8 individually adjustable neopixels. We do have a 8mm soft switch. I did have to modify the switch body to accept it. This was originally for a recharge port. Chris did provide a blade plug. I did have to sand that quite a bit to make sure it goes in and out freely, but you should be able to just cup it. If you do feel a little bit of resistance, it's just because it's airtight in there. So you may want to get a tool or something to pop it out. But it goes in and out fairly easy. It's just the upper section will get a little bit of an air pocket. Okay, in the emitter, we have a Shtok V3 neopixel. It is split into 2 blades, so the outer and inner rings do different things in the on and off state. The pixel switch will light up and do its own thing. And then I've got the chassis going here, but if we want to take a look here, there's the pogo pins for the Shtok side. So here's our chassis. I did keep it on so we can kind of watch the animations while I talked real quick. Got our Shtok Rotary 6-rail, a cool looking marble chamber that I built. This is a 2-part body that I just had to do so that I could get a Shtok neopixel accent ring underneath the marble. So when the Saber lights up, right now it's doing a kind of flicker, pulsing up and down, but when it's on, there's an animation that goes around and all the little imperfections in the crystal will light up. And so I've also got some mesh there in the back just for accenting. And then the cables run up these 2 4mm outside posts, and then the two 2mm inside posts are just for support. We got a Proffie V2 high amp kill switch. The config is on the SD card. This is sporting mostly Syndicate Relic custom fonts. I believe there may be one Kyberphonic font on here. And then we've got 2 rows of 2020 accents. There are 15 neopixels in each row. You can obviously see it's split into 3 blades per row so that the outer pixels do one thing and then the inner row has its own animation. And then of course that's just mirrored on this side. And then just above the speaker, we do have a 1515 accent. And I've been doing these on a lot of David's installs. And then we have a 28mm bass speaker from KR, fully encased and recessed so that it stays off the pommel face. It does fit a 18650. Take the battery out here real quick. We'll just turn this off. And then clearly in the tray, we've got positive and negative indicated. Obviously spring side's your negative. So we take the battery, nipple to nipple, and then we hit our kill switch. So how we can turn it on with the chassis is we can just do our twist to activate. And then twist to deactivate. We do also have thrust on, and those will get you into battle mode as well. I'll turn that back on just so you can watch the... So you can see the marble getting all kinds of crazy. And then, of course, the accents on the side do one thing. So how we put it in is we can either put this directly into the pommel and screw the pommel in, or you can just throw the chassis in and screw on after. I recommend this because it helps fully align. And then once we are in connection with those pogo pins, we'll see the activation light up. There we go. And then we also have the emitter. And then if we want to turn the Saber on, we can hit the power switch. So now the outer ring is animating. And then aux for blaster blocks. And then turn it off. So this does take a 1-inch diameter neopixel blade. And again, there are a number of fonts from Syndicate Relic. We'll go through those real quick. And their blade styles. So David, to you, this is the only difference between this and some of my other installs for you is that I went ahead and just used his blade styles, which are developed from OS 5.9. So while this does sport OS 6.9, edit mode is turned off, and then you just do all of your standard button commands. I do have a separate printout here that does not include the stuff for edit mode, so we'll go over all the other standard functions. But for the soundtrack, and this is something that David often requests, the first is, since it's Sith related, is Duel of Fates, so we just hold the power for 1 second. Turn it on, and then when to turn it off. If we want to move forward in the presets, we just hit the aux switch.
Because of Obi-Wan.
And then if we want to go back, we point the hilt down.
I know
hit the aux switch.
Power of the dark side.
So we'll go forward.
Because of Obi-Wan.
So this is an Obi-Wan related font. And so this is the Star Wars main theme for this track. And then we'll turn that off. So again, we can also twist on. And we'll see that activation changed from blue to green. And both of these will react to clashes and blaster blocks. Now, because I did twist on, we're in battle mode, so it will automatically engage lockups. I'll show that with the blade in here real quick. Just turn that off. And then when we're done and we're ready to turn the Saber off, we'll just undo the pommel and then turn the kill switch. But let's just go over a couple other fonts so we can see.
For your own good, stay out of this affair.
This is a mace font, so this is a purple. So I did do a little bit of a different animation on the ring this time. The emitters are all the same general animation style, but there's, I think, 2 different blade styles for the activation switch, and there's 2 or 3 different animations for the onboard chassis accents. So you can see that going.
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber.
Riva!
So this is the third sister, and then this will be an orange blade just because didn't have any Sith related or non-Sith related fonts that I thought would fit orange. And again, I'm providing orange now as a kind of a canon color because we saw the trailer for Ahsoka. So it's red on the switch, but the blade will be a deep orange. We'll show that with the blade in. Okay.
Sith killer.
This is yellow.
Ahsoka Tano! Bo-Katan sent me.
So this is the Kyberphonic font for a white blade.
Battery level.
And then on the last preset, we got a battery level. So on the activation switch, the crystal, and actually, let's just pull the chassis. I'm not really remembering. On the blade, we'll see the bump that goes from green to red. But on the chassis, it's just the crystal and the accent port that will go from green to red. So green is obviously good. I did fully charge this battery. And David, I'm gonna send you a battery so while you're in California, you actually have something to work with. I'm sure you might have brought something or you might have some available to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and ship at least one Saber with a battery so that you have something to play with.
I know the
we're back to the beginning.
power of the dark side.
So we can just hit the kill switch. All the accents are off. And then for safekeeping, we can just put the pommel in. The accents will turn off after 15 minutes, at which point you'll need a button press to wake it up. So if the chassis is out and it goes to sleep, you'll need to put the chassis back in and then use a button to wake it up. And then it will kind of light back up and then another button press will go to on state. So that's your Saber. Let me know if you have any questions. And I'm gonna back out with a blade in, show a couple of the blade styles. The button functionality is pretty much the same across all the installs, so I'm not gonna go over a huge thing, but I do just kind of wanna show you that it is programmed for a 36-inch, 1-inch diameter blade, and we'll do that now. Okay, so we've talked about the chassis. We've gone over a couple of the assembly caveats, I should say. So let's turn it on and we'll go over a couple of those things. So if it has a pre-on, hitting the button will be the only way to get the pre-on. So for this one, there's no animation, but there's a sound for the pre-on. If we wanted to bypass that, we'll do our gesture control. So I've provided twist on, twist off, and then thrust on like I normally do. And then those two will get you into battle mode. So battle mode means you don't have to press a button to engage lockups. So let's do that one more time. So we'll be in regular mode when we do the pre-on. So clashing the Saber will just be clashes, blast vertical locks, and then if you want to engage a lockup, you'll hold either power or aux and clash the Saber until you let go. Same goes for stabs, melts, right? So you let go, and then drag if we're pointing down. So if we twist on or thrust on, we'll bypass the pre-on, and then we'll engage lockup with a blast until we pull away. So that's just like it always is. And again, I provided on the first two fonts the Duel of Fates for the Sith font. So to get to that, we can just hold the power button. We'll turn it off. If we have the blade on, we can do that with the blade upright. Otherwise, we'll engage force effects, which I believe for most of Preston's fonts are all quotes. Don't quote me on that. But I believe I don't know if there's a whole lot of sound effects. There may be one or two on the later fonts. So to get to the next one, we'll just hit aux, our little red button here, and then you can see we've got a color change on the activation button. So now we're into the Obi-Wan font, which is a blue flicker, okay? And then to go backwards, just point the hilt down.
I know the true power.
Because of Obi-Wan.
For your own good, stay out of this affair.
So we do have a mace font here. Now, if we did want to change the color, we'll hold aux and tap power. Okay. And then accept, we hit power. To cancel, we'll hit aux. Now, I'm not going to change it. So I'll just hit cancel. Which you'll hear that. But yeah, so again, it'll be just like the what you're used to. But we don't get into edit mode on that. And then none of the chassis accents will be editable as well. So I don't think you'll be changing that, but let me know if you have any questions when you get this. So
I'm Luke Skywalker.
So we did a red, blue, and purple, and now we're on green. Okay, all the canon colors, right? And then if we, like I said, if we hold power for a second like we would for tracks with the blade on, but not upright, we'll do a force effect, which I believe is quotes for the most part.
I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
So, and it'll just randomly select them.
You will bring Captain Solo and the Wookiee to me.
Okay. So this is Third Sister from Syndicate, and this is the orange blade that I'm now providing on your hilts. So this one is a kind of a unstable, but it is orange. Okay.
Sith killer.
And then this one will be our yellow blade. This one I did provide an animation, so I don't know if we saw that, for the pre-on and post-off here. Okay. It's the only one I think that's actually going to have something like that. Okay. That's our yellow. And then our last font is white, which is the Sorcerer from Kyberphonic. And I believe I've provided this to you in another Saber. But yeah, this is the standard version. The Beskar version is the one that has the sounds from the Mandalorian. And then our last preset
battery level
is our battery level. Now I did charge this up because I'm going to give it to you. So it's fairly well charged. It's not 100%. But again, this is a 36-inch blade, so this should be what you have available to you. And then on the accents, the activation, the crystal, and the port accent, it'll go from green to red. Obviously, the lower it is, the more red it'll be. So
I know the true power of the dark side.
that's your Saber. Anything I didn't cover is going to be on that printout. Now, again, this does not have edit mode. It does have OS 6, so you'll hear some of the prompts for like edit mode, but you won't actually be able to get in there and change it. You'll just have the color wheel available to you. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to try to get this finished up and boxed to you with the other 3 that are done, and to you in San Francisco hopefully soon. So thanks for checking it out.